Hi guys, it's Adam from Rally Raid, and today we're going to be putting the first set of miles on this brand new Honda CB500X. This is the 2021-22 model. They've just been released here in the UK. Unfortunately, going into winter, you can see it's just starting to rain now and it's pretty cold. I've got like 3 jackets on, but we couldn't resist getting this bike bedded in. So at the moment, this bike hasn't done any miles. I think it's got 2 miles on the clock from testing at Honda, or unless someone had a cheeky ride on it without me knowing. And I'm quite excited to see how the front end changes that Honda have made affect this bike in sort of day-to-day riding. So at the moment, this bike is completely standard. We haven't changed anything on it in terms of performance, suspension. The only thing that I have added is this Garmin Montana 700 on one of our multi-mounts, just to stop me from getting lost while we're running it in. I think it's really important sometimes to take a step back and look at the OEM bike as it is. We've been working with this bike since 2013 in all sorts of different levels of upgrades, from harsh off-roading to road touring, everything in between. And I think it's a real treat sometimes just to get a brand new bike in its completely standard form and appreciate it for what it is. We already know that these Honda CB500Xs are a great little bike for a lot of people, so I'm quite excited to see how the changes on the front end affect its road riding. So what we're going to do today is just get the first set of miles on it. Really, we're not going to be taking it off-road. I don't want to get it too dirty, so we can start upgrading it as soon as possible. So in the grand scheme of things, these Hondas have never really changed that much. We've had a few upgrades in terms of the 19-inch front wheel along the way, which was great for the people using it for slightly more off-road usages, but the rest of the bike, sort of from the front end backwards, has always remained pretty much the same, and that's not a bad thing, you know. The bike's always worked well. It's been a great little platform for people road touring, adventure use and everything in between. So we're really happy to see Honda still working on this bike, still upgrading it, and pushing it forward, bringing it into the modern age, you know. So one of the first things that most people notice about the new bike is obviously its visual changes. It was a fairly good looking bike before. It didn't scream sort of aggression or anything like that, but I think Honda have done a lot of work to it since its release in 2013 to bring it up to sort of a mini Africa Twin feeling. Definitely the cockpit area feels like an Africa Twin in terms of its styling, the new indicators, everything like that. It's all sort of pointing towards that same style, and it looks great, to be honest. The new colorways, that green looks awesome as well. With the shower upside down forks, we've got new forks in it, obviously. That's one of the most spoken about things, with the double disc as well. I can't ride too fast because unfortunately the wind noise on the GoPro is pretty awful, so we're just going to have to poodle along while I'm talking. But you've definitely got a bit more of a tautness there with the bike. They seem to react a little bit nicer to sort of general road riding than the old conventional forks. There's been some weight saved there as well, which is always good. One of my concerns is, now that we have a double disc on the front, we've got more stopping power. With more stopping power, the weight of the bike is going to be transferred more quickly to the front forks. And whilst they look better in terms of the upside down, they've got gold outers and everything like that, they're still a budget fork, and they're not going to be mind-blowing in terms of their performance, even from the previous fork, to be honest. So I'm about 5'11", about 100 kilos, a fairly average European rider, I'd say, and I do find the bike comfortable. It's always been a comfortable bike from the early ages. The foot peg geometry is nice for road riding. It's okay for adventure riding in terms of how it compares to a dedicated off-road bike. The foot pegs are further up and they're higher back for the street style, but it's workable. The handlebars are a little bit too far back towards the rider, out of the box for a lot of people for off-roading, but again, it's comfortable and it's very stable on the road, and that's kind of how they come out of the box. They're super stable. You never really get any speed wobbles or anything like that from it, so you can't really complain, to be honest. So just hitting some of these potholes, it is quite harsh. Taking it down, I initially noticed how it's quite a lot tighter than the older bikes, but because of that sort of rigidity that they've given us, they've kind of taken away some of the plushness on the light gravel trails as well. Obviously this isn't an out-of-the-box dirt bike, it's not meant for that sort of thing, but a lot of people are using them and have been using them for a very long time. We've got a bit more preload on the rear shock that Honda have done for us, so that's going to make the rear shock slightly tighter. You can feel it jar a little bit when you hit sort of big potholes in the gravel road, and that's completely normal for a stock bike, to be honest. The main thing that I've noticed so far with the front end is the amount of front end dive. I was talking about it earlier. The twin discs on the front, you've got more stopping power. The weight of the bike is going to be coming forward much faster than the older single brake. I wouldn't say the older bike was underpowered in terms of the braking, but now we just have to counteract that weight transition with slightly stronger forks. So Honda did say that they'd be preload adjustable, but as you can see, we've got completely blank caps there, so there's no active adjustability whilst you're out on the bike. Obviously, it wouldn't be an England bike test without some rain. I really enjoy the upgrade to the front end on the road. It's something that Honda have really obviously thought about for the majority of riders. In terms of off-road riding, it's almost a little bit of a step backwards, to be honest, compared to the conventional forks that we used to have. The use of travel seems a little bit different, perhaps not as more suited to hitting something slightly faster. The rebound is definitely quite a little bit faster, which again makes it more agile, a little bit more flickable on the road, but it is quite jarring in terms of off-road trails or gravel trails. The rebound speed is quite fast. It's almost pumping back at you, more so than the older plusher models of the bike where you just kind of float through, to be honest. But it's not a bad thing. The upgrades are great. I hope that we can really work with these new forks to get something out of them that everyone's happy with, especially the off-road guys, because that's what we use the CBX for mostly. I mean, I got a friend, Luke Phillips. He's done upwards of 100,000 miles, pretty much all off-road adventuring around Africa and South America on his CBX, and it's just so good to see these bikes getting used for something that they probably weren't designed for in the first place, to be honest. We've done quite a few miles on this bike now, and I think overall it's a really nice step forward for Honda to do this to the little CBX. They keep working with it, upgrading it sort of every 3 to 4 years, which is really nice. And I think most average riders in terms of road use are going to see a nice tautness and responsiveness increase in terms of the front end suspension and that twin disc. Like we said, under hard conditions, hard braking, potholes and gravel roads, there is some responsiveness taking away in terms of the plushness, but you can't expect to have a more responsive bike on road without losing some of its off-road capabilities. The rear swing arm, I didn't notice anything different about that, to be honest. Although they say it has more flex and it's lighter, it's barely noticeable. The bike itself, when you do want to push it, it does rebound quite hard and you can get a bit of a bounce on, just like the older models. Hit a couple of bumps in the road and it does start to undulate quite a few times. Although it's not as bad as the older models in terms of the rear shock, once they've added a little bit of preload for us, the front end compression is almost uncontrollable, and that's the same with the preload. There's no adjustment there, and it would be nice to see that. So that's something we're definitely going to be looking at, and we hope that we can bring them up to the level that the previous forks have been at as well with our level 2 kits. We've been really happy with how this bike performed with our modified suspension. We want to continue that and keep pushing that forwards as well, just like Honda have done with this model. I hope you've enjoyed watching us put the first couple of miles on this bike. If you're waiting to get your own Honda CB500X, drop a comment below, let us know what colour you're getting and what you're looking forward to most. And if you've owned one of the previous models, let us know what your favourite thing about that bike was, whether it was the excellent mileage you get, whether it was its handling, its manageable weight compared to other bikes in their range, or you just like the bike as a general run around off-road adventure tool. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos on the 2021-22 CB500X.